He looked successful, didn't he? A chillingly familiar picture. The corner office, the wife, the kids, the whole goddamn package. But there was this emptiness, a quiet desperation humming beneath the surface. You know the feeling, right? That gnawing sense that something is missing. It's not peace you're chasing, brother, not really. It's the absence of challenge, the avoidance of the abyss. Carl Jung called it the shadow, and it's about to swallow you whole if you don't confront it. This isn't about some fluffy self-help crap. This is about survival, about reclaiming your life from the quiet death of okay. So he had it all right. 62 years old, retired CEO of a Fortune 500 company in Denver. The sprawling ranch, the trophy wife 20 years younger, the picture of success. But behind the tailored suits and forced smiles, there was a gnawing emptiness, a hollowness that no amount of wealth or achievement could fill. It wasn't that he was unhappy, not exactly. It was worse, it was the suffocating weight of okay. He'd reached the pinnacle and the view was underwhelming, like staring at a perfectly polished yet utterly lifeless marble statue. And that's the scary truth, isn't it? The problem wasn't the lack of peace, it was the absence of challenge. The quiet desperation was a symptom, a subtle rebellion of the shadow self, that deeply buried part of him he'd spent a lifetime ignoring. That dark, pulsating undercurrent of suppressed dreams, untapped potential, and unresolved wounds, all masquerading as a craving for tranquility. It was an avoidance strategy, a desperate attempt to outrun the inevitable confrontation with the darkness within, the abyss he knew instinctively lay at the heart of his being. It was a life lived not bravely, but cleverly. And cleverness, my friend, rarely delivers the goods. That polished marble statue, it's a chillingly accurate representation of what many of us chase. Not peace, mind you, but the absence of conflict, the illusion of effortless serenity. It's a trap, brother, a beautiful, insidious trap, because what we mistake for tranquility is often the shadow self's rebellion in disguise, a silent scream against the challenge of confronting our deepest wounds. Think about it, how many times have you pursued peace, only to find it leaves you feeling hollow? Like you've somehow cheated yourself. That's the shadow flexing its power. Carl Jung understood this better than most. He saw the shadow not as something to be banished, but as a vital, albeit often terrifying, part of the psyche. It's the repository of our repressed desires, our unresolved traumas, the parts of ourselves we've deemed unacceptable. And when we ignore it, when we chase this phantom peace to avoid its raw, unfiltered power, the shadow doesn't disappear, it rebels. It manifests as discontent, as a subtle but persistent sense of unease, a quiet desperation gnawing at the edges of our lives. Consider Arthur, a 70-year-old retired judge from Charleston, South Carolina. On the surface, a picture of calm respectability. Successful career, loving family, comfortable retirement home overlooking the ocean. But beneath the placid veneer, a simmering rage. Years of suppressing his own anger, his own shadow, his own deep yearning for a life less predictable, had built into a pressure cooker of resentment. He found peace in his routine, but it was the peace of death. The quiet desperation that haunted his nights was the shadow's desperate plea for attention. The mechanism is always the same, projection. We project our shadow onto others, onto our partners, our children, our careers, rather than facing it directly within ourselves. We seek peace as a way to avoid the painful work of integration, the agonizing process of confronting the suppressed rage, the unlived dreams, the unhealed wounds lurking in the dark corners of our being. It's easier to numb ourselves with a carefully constructed facade of success than to stare into the abyss. And honestly, who wants to do that? It's a cruel irony. The very thing we believe will bring us peace becomes the prison that keeps us from it. The okay life, that quiet desperation, it's the shadow's quiet coup. It's the cost of ignoring our own depths, of betraying the wild, untamed spirit that craves genuine meaning. But here's the truth. True peace isn't the absence of challenge. It's the integration of our entire being, light and shadow, joy and pain, into a unified whole. And that, brother, is a journey that demands courage far greater than anything you've ever imagined. That polished facade, that relentless pursuit of okay, it's a societal myth, a shimmering mirage in the desert of the soul. We're told peace is the absence of conflict, the stillness after the storm. But what if that stillness is just the chilling silence before the avalanche? What if the very thing we crave most, this effortless serenity, is actually a desperate avoidance of something far more profound? Think of Arthur, 72, retired surgeon in Charleston. He'd built a life of enviable stability, a beautiful home overlooking the ocean, a loving family, a successful practice, yet he felt a hollowness, a dull ache that no amount of yoga retreats or philanthropy could soothe. He wasn't unhappy, not really. He was bored, terrified even, of what he couldn't quite say, but the feeling itself was a kind of knowing. Jung understood this. He saw the shadow self not as something to be banished, but as a vital, though often terrifying, part of the human psyche. It's the repository of our repressed desires, our unresolved traumas, the aspects of ourselves we deem unacceptable, the darkness we push into the farthest corners of our being, a kind of exile of our own making. Arthur's shadow whispered of unfulfilled passions, of a life unlived, of a creative spirit stifled beneath the weight of professional success. He'd spent decades chasing the illusion of control, only to find himself suffocated by its constraints, a prisoner in his own gilded cage. The emptiness wasn't a lack of something, but a profound repression of everything else. His quest for peace was a subtle, insidious avoidance of confronting the very things that gave his life meaning. And that's the crux, isn't it? The effortless serenity we so desperately chase isn't genuine peace. It's a projection, a defense mechanism designed to protect us from the pain of self-confrontation. It's a carefully constructed illusion that hides a deep-seated fear of the abyss, of the raw, unfiltered power of our own inner world. And that, my friend, is far more terrifying than any external conflict. Think of it as a carefully manicured lawn hiding a festering septic tank beneath. The path to true peace isn't the avoidance of challenge, but the courageous embrace of it. It's a descent into the underworld, a confrontation with our own demons, not to conquer them, but to integrate them, to understand that those very shadows are essential components of our wholeness. The true warrior doesn't avoid the battle, he meets it, embraces it, transforms it. It's a messy, painful process, a descent into the deepest, darkest parts of ourselves, but it's the only path to lasting fulfillment. And that's something worth fighting for, worth facing the abyss to achieve. That polished facade, that relentless pursuit of okay, it's a cage, a gilded one perhaps, but a cage nonetheless. It's a prison built of societal expectations, of the fear of falling short, of the crushing weight of shoulds. And within that gilded cage, something within us dies, not a dramatic, screaming death, mind you, but a slow, quiet suffocation, a withering of the soul. It's a grief so subtle it often masquerades as peace. Think of it this way, you're not seeking peace, brother, you're seeking the absence of conflict, the avoidance of the abyss. Jung would call it a projection, a desperate attempt to deny the shadow self, the darker, wilder, more authentic parts of ourselves that we deem unacceptable. He understood this better than most. He saw it as a spiritual sickness, an unlived life pretending to thrive. Consider Arthur, 72 years old, retired history professor from Boston. A life seemingly dedicated to intellectual pursuit. The tweed jackets, the quiet evenings spent reading in front of a crackling fire, the picture of serene scholarly contentment. Yet he felt the gnawing emptiness too. It whispered to him in the stillness of the night, a phantom ache in his chest, a subtle dissatisfaction with a life lived according to the prescribed script. It wasn't that he was unhappy. He was empty. His accomplishments, his accolades, his years spent in hallowed halls of academia, none of it truly mattered. Because he'd spent a lifetime avoiding the confrontation of his shadow. He'd rejected the primal urge to embrace the risk, the uncertainty, the chaotic beauty of the unknown. He'd built a life around the negation of his own wild heart, suppressing the artist, the adventurer, the passionate man buried deep within. He traded genuine authenticity for an illusion of order, choosing a cage of comfortable routine over the exhilarating leap into the abyss. The mechanism at play, my friend, is this. We build walls of complacency, bricks made of societal pressures and self-doubt to keep the shadow at bay. But the shadow self doesn't disappear, it festers, grows stronger, its energy feeding on our avoidance. And the cost? It's a slow, agonizing death of the spirit, a quiet desperation masquerading as peace, contentment, fulfillment. That quiet death, you see, is the opposite of peace. It's not the absence of pain, it's the absence of life. True peace, the kind worth fighting for, isn't the absence of challenge. It's the integration of the whole self, shadow and light, embraced fully, honestly, and without flinching. It's a kind of profound wholeness. And that, my friend, is a fight worth having. It's a descent into the very depths of your being, a willingness to confront the very darkness that threatens to consume you. It's a journey into the underworld, and a journey back. But that is a story for another time. So what is peace? Is it the absence of conflict? The quiet hum of a life lived without friction? That's what they tell us, isn't it? But that's a lie, a comforting lie, a gilded cage built on the fear of facing the truth. It's not the absence of struggle, brother, it's the integration of it. The acceptance of the chaos, the darkness and the light, the shadow and the hero, the wound and the healing. Think of it like a river. A river that flows smoothly, a perfect mirror reflecting the heavens. That's not a river at all. It's stagnant, it's a dead thing. A truly powerful river is one that's lived fully, that's crashed against rocks, snaked through canyons, carved its own path through the earth. That river has depth, doesn't it? It's alive. That's the kind of peace you're actually seeking, not the manufactured tranquility of avoidance, but the raw, untamed power of integration. The embrace of the whole self, the light and the dark, the success and the failure, the love and the heartbreak. And that includes the parts of yourself you've so diligently buried. It's not about erasing the past, but understanding it, integrating it into the tapestry of who you are. A 70-year-old judge I knew in Charleston, South Carolina, a man who seemed to have it all, the impeccable reputation, the loving family, the comfortable retirement, he cracked, not with a bang, but a slow, agonizing crumble. The emptiness was his undoing, not a lack of peace, but a lack of wholeness. He built this fortress of perfection, and it collapsed under the weight of its own perfection. Because there is no such thing, there's just this relentless process of becoming. You're not broken, man, you were never taught the truth. You were taught to chase a phantom, a carefully constructed illusion of serenity, of effortless achievement. They told you to calm down, to find your peace, but they never told you how to integrate the shadows that dance behind the facade. They never told you that to conquer, you must first confront, that to find wholeness, you must first face the abyss. And that's terrifying, isn't it? There's a silence now, a space for the weight of that truth to settle. There's a fork in the road. You can choose to stay asleep, lulled by the sweet poison of the okay, or you can choose differently. You can choose to embrace the fire, to plunge into the depths of your own being, to forge your own path through the chaos. It's a descent, yes, into darkness, but it's also an ascent into the realm of true, authentic power. The emptiness, the hollowness, that's not a sign of weakness, brother, it's a call to arms. It's the roar of your soul screaming to be heard, and now you can hear it.